You know, there's a really common trap in the AI coding world right now, and it's catching a ton of developers. The trap is called Conductor. But here's the twist. There are two completely different tools with that same exact name. One's this awesome app, and the other is a command line package. So today, we are going to untangle this whole mess and figure out which conductor you actually need.
Ah, man, we've all been there, right? You hear about some game-changing new tool, you find it on what looks like the right page, you run the install command, and then what you get is absolutely nothing like what you expected. It's so frustrating, and it's happening to a lot of people trying to level up their game with Claude Code.
So picture this. You were looking for this slick UI, something to manage a whole team of AI coding agents all working at once. Instead, you run one command and bam! A bunch of new documentation files like Conductor.md just get plopped into your project. So what just happened? Well, you've stumbled right into the conductor name collision. Let's get this sorted out, once and for all.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the app that most of you are probably looking for. Then we'll dissect that command line package that's causing all the confusion. After a little head-to-head showdown, we'll check out some great alternatives if you're not on a Mac. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the one key thing you really need to remember.
Okay, let's kick things off with the tool that most people are actually trying to find, the application. You can find this one over at Conductor.build. So what exactly is this Conductor app? Well, think of it like an air traffic controller for your AI agents. It lets you run a bunch of separate Claude Code agents at the exact same time, and each one gets its own little sandbox to play in, thanks to a cool Git feature called work trees. The best part? You get to manage this whole symphony of agents through a really clean graphical interface. And the workflow? It's just brilliantly simple. First, you point it at your code repository. Second, you deploy as many agents as you need for different tasks. And third, you get to conduct them, reviewing their code, checking their progress, and merging the good stuff, all from right inside the app. And this quote from a designer over at Notion just nails it. It really captures the feeling of using this thing. It's like this massive productivity boost, letting you work on things in parallel in a way that just feels, well, like you suddenly have 8 arms. Now, to get going, you do need 2 things set up. The GitHub command line tool has to be authenticated, and of course, you need Claude Code itself installed and logged in. But, and this is the big one, here is the major catch. As of right now, Conductor the app is for Mac OS only. So if you're on Windows or Linux, this tool is off the table, at least for now. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the other conductor. This is the one you get when you run that npx Claude Conductor command. This is the NPM package, and, well, it is a completely different beast.
This tool has a totally different mission in life. It's a documentation generator. That's it. Its one and only purpose is to create a scaffold of Markdown files. And these files are designed to give Claude Code a really deep, lasting understanding of your project, its architecture, how to build it, its history, every single time it runs.
So this is literally what it does. You run the command, and these files just appear in your project. It's creating a kind of documentation framework, basically a brain for Claude Code to read. It doesn't run anything, it just writes files and then it's done. So let's be absolutely crystal clear here. The NPM package writes docs to give Claude some context. It does not run agents, it does not create those isolated workspaces, and it does not manage parallel tasks. Its whole job is to prepare the information, not to actually execute the work.
All right, it is time for the showdown. Let's put these 2 tools side by side to make this super obvious which conductor is the right one for what you're trying to do.
I mean, just look at this table. The differences couldn't be more clear. The app's call, run agents. The package's call, generate docs. The app is macOS only, while the package runs anywhere you've got Node.js. One's a GUI, the other is a CLI. They use completely different tech under the hood, and you install them in totally different ways. They are completely unrelated projects that just happen to have the same name. But here's the really cool part. They aren't enemies. In fact, they can work together beautifully. If you're on a Mac, the best workflow is to run the NPM package just once to create that documentation brain for your project. Then you fire up the Conductor app to run your team of agents, and now they'll all be way smarter because they can read all those context files you just made. So this brings us to the big question for a lot of you out there. What if you want this awesome parallel agent workflow, but you're on Windows or Linux? Don't worry, you have some excellent options. So the key here is to understand the magic trick behind the curtain. And the secret sauce isn't really a secret at all.
It's Git Worktree, which is a standard feature of Git. It lets you have multiple copies of your repository checked out to different branches at the same time. And guess what? Anyone can use it.
The most direct way is to just use the commands yourself. You create a new worktree for a new feature, cd into that new directory, and then run Claude. Open up another terminal and just do it again. It's totally tool-free, works on every single operating system, and it gives you that exact same core benefit of isolated branches.
But hey, if you still want a nice graphical interface, you've got options like Crystal. It's a cross-platform desktop app that gives you a very similar experience to Conductor. Or if you happen to be a cursory user, its Parallel Agents feature is built right in, and it uses the exact same Git Worktree technology.
And for all you command line power users out there, there are some really specialized tools. GWQ gives you this awesome dashboard to manage all your work trees. CC Swarm lets you orchestrate entire pools of specialized agents. And you should definitely keep an eye on Agent Teams. It's an experimental feature right inside Claude Code for coordinating agent work.
All right, let's bring this all home. The key takeaway here, the one thing to remember, is the difference between orchestrating agents and orchestrating documentation.
Yes, the shared name is super confusing, but these tools have fundamentally different jobs. Conductor, the app, is for, well, conducting a symphony of AI agents all working in parallel. Conductor, the package, is for arranging the sheet music, the documentation, that those agents need to read to perform their best. Both are incredibly valuable, just for totally different parts of the process.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As we go from working with just a single AI assistant to managing entire teams of them, maybe the most important skill we're all going to develop is being a conductor, orchestrating AI to build whatever comes next. Thanks so much for tuning in.